Hi, this is Dr. Will Weed here today, and I'm just talking today about some things that we have been discussing the last couple of weeks. One of those things had to do with the biblical possibility of ultimate judgment and also the biblical possibility of ultimate redemption. But today I want to give you a different kind of backdrop, and today I want to talk to you about Jesus. Now, Jesus is one person, but there's two parts of his life that are, even three parts of his life that I call and I find most interesting. Today I want to talk a little bit about Jesus, the Nazareth, Jesus who was born in Nazareth. Now, this little town that Jesus was born in is a very insignificant town, very poor people, uneducated people. The people born in this town was not able to read, nor were they able to write. They were considered to be peasants. This is the town that God decided to come into mankind, into humanity through this small town. Very insignificant. Jesus is born to a family that's not popular or any royal descent, not even priestly. There's nothing named about his family other than there is an attempt to connect his family bloodline to King David. But other than that, there's nothing really comely about him or famous about him at all. And he grows up in this small town. His father is an artisan, or what we would call a carpenter today. And because Nazareth, the building was basically brick, mud, and mortar, there was not much work, not much wood work there in his town. So he was just, one writer said he was just one rung above a peasant or a beggar. Not a peasant, but a beggar. Then there were some cities not far from that. There was up and coming and striving. As Jesus grows up and goes into this city, or into these cities, we find him and his father becoming a part of the reconstruction of a city that had been burned down. This is Jesus. This is in his day and time, there was a lot of things going on. A lot of rebels and guerrilla warfare warring against the imperial Romans and also the high priest of the day over the Jews. These peasants, rebels, would wage war against those in those positions because they felt that they were robbing the poor to further their own wealth. And so they were rebelling against those people. This is the atmosphere that Jesus came up. And this is why this makes him so significant. And this tells me about you, who I'm talking about. He had a heart for the poor and those people who were neglected and rejected, the sick. And at that particular time, the religious hierarchy would charge great sums to see the poor, to visit the poor, to cast out demons, to lay hands on the sick. There was a temple tax or charge that you had to pay as the poor before you can even receive prayer from the high priests, as it were. But when Jesus arose, he set all that aside, and he said to his disciples as he began to teach them, what was freely given to you, you offer freely. You don't offer with charge. So this is the beginning of a movement that actually rocked the Roman government as well as the high priest that was over the Jews over Jerusalem at that time. That hierarchy of Judaism, how Jesus came against it. And this is one of the many reasons why he became an enemy of what then was the religious order as well as the enemy of Rome. And and I like to get into that conversation with you. But I also like to bring into this conversation the revelation of Paul, because as Jesus grows and he builds his disciple as being a Nazarene, he's Jewish. He preaches from that standpoint. He preaches to the Jews. He's concerned about their salvation. When Paul comes up and he meets Christ, the risen Lord, his assignment is to the Greek, to the rest of the world. This was kind of foreign to the Jewish philosophy and thought. So there became a butting of heads because Paul's presentation is to present the gospel in a different way than it had been presented to the Jews. And this is the conflict that you see in your scriptures. And this is also the conflict that we see in today's church. Is there this thing called radical grace, or is there this thing called the law and Christ Jesus? Do we mix them, or are we free from them? What saith thou? And so we want to talk about that a little further in our next upcoming video. I just wanted to give you a backdrop of where we're going and remind you that God has plans for your life, and none of those plans include defeat.